Alec Lewis, Paul Allen, good morning.
Paul, this is kind of awkward. I mean, I'm in your chair. You're not here. It's like I'm just hearing your voice echoing in my mind.
Alec is echoing in my headphones.
Am I?
I'm just kidding. Hey!
You can't do that. Like, I want that.
Yes.
And I know that iHeart Studio Technology, sponsored by Jared Wells, I almost messed up his name. I mean, I know it's going to work, but you had me there. I'm not going to lie.
Nordo?
Hey.
Alec did it again and came through for 9 to noon, unofficially the 7th time in the last 3 years, but 2 times this training camp, and here's what we mean. Play it and listen closely.
Uh-oh.
We weren't thinking about whether it was fair during it, but I guess in the aftermath, how do you feel about that now?
Say that one more time.
You said you weren't thinking about whether or not.
Stop. Okay, so it's Alec and J.J. McCarthy. 2 weeks after Caleb Banks, and I was right next to it.
It's unbelievable. Why don't I just talk louder? I
wasn't next to. I wasn't next to this one, but I was next to Caleb Banks, and I laughed, and all the news channels picked it up because I was too close to Caleb. But too much time for Teddy. But you got to listen closely. Alec is asking J.J. McCarthy a question. Listen to the quarterback's response.
We weren't thinking about whether it was fair during it, but I guess in the aftermath, how do you feel about that now?
Say that one more time.
You said you weren't thinking about
Say it one more time.
And honestly, when he said say one more time, the first thing in my mind was how you guys make fun of me for asking questions quietly. And if you really want to know, like, first of all, it's embarrassing. And I'm okay to be embarrassed. Second of all,
it's not embarrassing.
Second of all, it's because I really don't like being the reporter in the scrum of press conferences being like, I just don't like talking over people. It's disrespectful. It makes me feel uncomfortable. So, yeah, now you're putting me in a spot. Now I'm embarrassed. I told Nordo I'm all happy and feel good.
Well, you should be happy.
Yeah.
We don't need to mention names here, but when you say that you ask questions and then people will come over the top, it happened to you at the O'Connell press conference on Tuesday.
Oh, it happened to me 9 times.
You started to ask a question, and then I heard somebody like,
it happened.
So what do you think?
And I don't like competing to raise my voice in front of 30 people and cameras that's just not what I like doing. What I like doing is having real conversations with people. Like, that's what not yelling for a performance. It's just not how I am.
But listen, it's not a performance. It's listen how you're talking now, and you don't talk like that during the press conferences.
Yeah, because maybe I'm nervous. I don't know. Maybe I'm anxious. Maybe I'm stressed. I'm going to have to go talk to somebody about this, I believe. Maybe I need to, I don't know. Now it's in my head. Now, every time I ever ask a press conference question again for the rest of my journalistic career, this is going to be on my mind.
What? So we legitimately, I mean, this is not bugging you like you're not mad, right?
I don't get mad about these things. Like, I saw the other day on social media, Kevin Seifert tweeted I should not say this, but he tweeted a picture of Justin Jefferson, and I was in the background, and one of the Twitter replies was like, well, Alec looks well-nourished. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I haven't worked out enough. Like, it's just, this is what happens. I can take it any day of the week. I probably shouldn't be saying that on the air, but.
Somebody called you fat on X?
100%, and I deserved it. I haven't been on the Peloton enough, and now it's on my mind. That's why.
Wow.
I mean,
if you're fat, I'm Gorilla Monsoon. Holy cow. Now hold on. Everybody, we all have to calm down. This is a lot of fun. So Alex said the bit didn't make him mad or his feelings aren't hurt. So let's hear it again.
We weren't thinking about whether it was fair during it, but I guess in the aftermath, how do you feel about that now?
Say that one more time.
You said you weren't thinking about whether or not it was.
The Caleb Banks bit was the best because I think it was Andrew Kramer from the Star Tribune who kind of whispered a question, and then Banks had to say, can you repeat that?
No,
and
I think Caleb Banks was like, you guys aren't talking loud enough.
Well, then Alec whispered one, and Banks had to say, damn, y'all are whispering today. And I was right next to it. I pumped my fist on camera.
Yeah, I
forgot there were cameras there, and I went, yes.
Yeah, like Fox 9 is like recording Caleb Banks' first interview, and you're fist bumping about the audible nature of the questions. But yeah, anyway, like these are the intricate journalism job things that I mean, and in the press conferences, like it's going to be week 8. The Vikings are going to be playing somebody, the Bills on Monday night. Kevin O'Connell's going to come to his press conference. Someone's going to yell a question, and it's going to be in the back of my mind now forever.
All right. Now, Giants this weekend. Alec with a long day in New York City. But I want to jump ahead to next week for a second.
What does that mean, long day in New York City?
Well, because you're on Thursday, because you're leaving early tomorrow, you couldn't be 9 to noon, so I kind of know your schedule. Are you ready for Vikings training camp to be done?
No.
Or super excited for the Ravens joints?
No, I feel like I'm just beginning. Like I feel like with the quarterback conversation, like
you got to work that weight off.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's what I've got 3 weeks to get myself into shape for the Green Bay Packers. No, I would say with the quarterback conversation, not on the back burner, because I do think it's going to be continuously important to evaluate how Kyler looks. In the last 2 days, he looked really good. But now we all get to watch a ton of different players who are very interesting, and I could rattle off like 15 of them. So not only will we get to see them every day in practice and get to focus on them, but it's preseason game on Saturday, and then next week the joints. Like to your point, I'm fascinated to see Jesse Minter and that Ravens team, and to get to watch those matchups with this roster. I hope you can hear it in my voice, and it is not fake. Like I am actually very excited for it.
Me too, big time, and excited for the game this weekend. Now, Alec Lewis at Alec_Lewis via X. We have the Alec Lewis Show that also is available via X, and you can watch it on YouTube.
It's actually the first podcast ever invented. No one else has one. So.
Correct. Yeah, right. It was you and then Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan used your platform to, make all this money with the subscribers. But at The Athletic or theathletic.com, several stories ago, was the roster projection the first one you've done?
In my life, no. But since this training camp began, yes, I believe it was. Yeah.
Help me with this.
Okay.
Obviously, you'll probably do 4 before the season, 5, something like that.
9.
Yeah, I really, really enjoy reading them, specifically when you do it, because you come on the radio show. Thanks to Steve's Appliances and stevesappliances.com. Are you married to 3 tight ends? Because you had 3 tight ends on your roster projection. I'm kind of feeling 4.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not married to anything. But on that roster projection, I would say. But so you're 4, I would imagine you've got Gavin Bartholomew and Ben Jurasik.
Okay. Yeah, I got them. Yeah, and it's there for everybody to see. But, and we've talked about it before, man. The sneaky of the all sneaky when it comes to trying to figure out the final 53, right when practice begins, punt team, punt coverage, kick team, kick coverage. I just see 85 out there on too many teams, Yeah,
and Ben Jurasik last year was like pretty reliable, and I'm actually glad you brought this up because I do think the tight end position for this team right now is an interesting one that hasn't gotten a lot of talk. I mean, TJ Hawkinson, it feels like the last couple of days I've seen him catch more passes than the first probably, week and a half of camp. And then Josh Oliver has always been a staple in the run game. But I do wonder if those guys suffer injuries with how they want to play this year. Can guys like Ben Jurasik or Gavin Bartholomew step in and be reliable? So, I mean, with Gavin Bartholomew, I haven't had any questions with him catching the football. For me, I will be curious beginning Saturday against the Giants how he looks in the run blocking phase. Like that is my intrigue with him.
And that was going to be my follow-up is just based on what you've seen, what are the traits of a Bartholomew and a Jurasik? And it sounds like, to your point, that there's still more to see. Just because but I also want to know how this team wants to play in relation to now that we know that Kyler's playing. So we've talked about it in the way that the league changes and adopts and copies each other, seeing bigger sets, seeing more physical sets, more tight ends on the field. But based on how they're implementing Kyler or implementing the offense with Kyler, does that potentially change anything in relation to those tight ends?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good question. The guy who probably needs to be brought up within the conversation is also Max Bredesen, the rookie, because there have been a lot of snaps throughout this training camp, and I'm going to try to keep this really general so I don't get myself into trouble, where Max Bredesen is all over the formation. And at times can look like he's lined up as a tight end. And so perhaps there's reason, and this gets back to your initial question, PA, of how many do you keep at tight end? Maybe because Max Bredesen fills a certain role you don't need for. But I've said now for months, like, I wouldn't be shocked if throughout this next few weeks, as the Vikings front office is evaluating personnel throughout the league, if a tight end becomes available who they really like, that would be another avenue that I don't think I would rule out, even though I don't have any information to lead me down the road of that being kind of the path that they will take.
Nordo, you framed up the question in a certain way where I'm surprised we didn't get a different response from Alec, where you said, now that we know Kyler Murray is the quarterback, I'm surprised Alec didn't come clomping in saying, those in the know already knew. Well, I mean, because you've been on this, Kyler being the quarterback for quite some time.
Well, they signed a player who had started for 7 years in the NFL and played 89 games, and who was well known as a starting quarterback. And so, I mean, really, I can't. When Kyler Murray signed in March, and PA, you know this, I talked to as many people as I can and I've met throughout the league, and it became abundantly clear through probably 5 to 10 conversations with the Tom Condons of the world that anything, separate from Kyler Murray being the starter was going to be a major, major surprise to everyone within the league. So yeah, but I don't know. I don't feel like, I guess part of it, PA, and why didn't quip like that is I'm just a little fatigued by it all. It is what it is. I'm looking forward to the 88 other players on the team and the ability to just watch them all.
So maybe in some ways, Alec, it's now that the quarterback position has been, there's a conclusion, finality to that. Maybe there always was some, and we just had to go through various hoops, etc. Now we can finally say, we're back. Training camp finally starts today. That's why you aren't wishing it away, is because now we actually get to break down elements of the team in total. How beautiful is that?
And it's funny because I think Tuesday I wrote something on the quarterbacks and there was a comment of you just love talking about this. And I'm like, no, I really love analyzing Max Bredesen's schematic potential in Kevin O'Connell's offense. But I just, unfortunately, because journalism, contrary to popular belief, is still a business. There are certain things you have to do. And I should also say the quarterback competition being analyzed, reported on, discussed, because the quarterback is the most important element of successful NFL teams, and the people listening to this radio station want this team to be successful, you kind of have to cover it. So, it's just, we are back, but we are back.
We're back.
And I feel it in my soul.
Can you say that again?
No, I can't.
That's Alec Lewis from The Athletic and TheAthletic.com. I'm Paul Allen, Nordo kind of by my side. And when we return, we have some non-quarterback related questions for Alec Lewis. Also, the question that I posed to Nordo and Ben Lieber about Vikings and receivers and rushers. We're going to hit Alec with that around the corner on KFAN.
This is PA on iHeartRadio and KFAN The Fan. Guaranteed human.
From the 1-800-ASK.
Alec, with the right to change the take right in front of the season, because things change. Who do you think leads the Vikings in receiving touchdowns and why?
Justin Jefferson.
Okay, that's what Nordo said.
Would be my pick.
And Lieber said Addison. So why Jefferson?
Yeah, it just feels to me, I actually thought about this last night, like the coming off of last year, the intent that Kevin O'Connell is going to have and to take to put him in positions to accumulate the production that he's worthy of accumulating, I think will be important. And then I do think, and I've said this so much that I'm almost like a tape recorder at this point, but the more they can run the football effectively and the more Kyler Murray threatens defenses with his running ability and his extension ability, I think the more space you can then have for Justin Jefferson to make it easier to find him in certain pockets. But I understand the Addison projection there because Justin takes so much attention in the red zone, and so that usually does open up other guys.
If somebody gave you 10-1, so you're 100 to win 1,000, that Jefferson and Addison each would have at least 10 receiving touchdowns, would you take it?
I mean, that's a lot of receiving touchdowns. If they each have 10 receiving touchdowns, then, I mean, what's you guys' slogan to make it to wherever the Super Bowl is? Like, I'm kidding kind of partially, but I mean, I really don't know. I will say this, and I just told Nordo this between segments. Like, I'm as optimistic right now about what this offense is capable of as I've been, I don't know, probably since training camp started at least, and probably since Sam Darnold in the back half of the 2024 season.
Okay, same question. Rushing touchdowns. Who leads the team in rushing touchdowns and why?
Yeah, I just think Jordan Mason, and part of it is, I think his fit with the type of run game that they want to have is, it's like hand and glove type stuff. And I also feel like his body type and just like how he's looked so far, in camp, it has been really impressive. Now, he's going to have to do two things. One is take care of the football. Like, there was a snap either in yesterday's practice or the day before where the ball popped out in one of these training camp runs, and that just cannot happen. And then the other thing with him is, can you improve enough in pass protection that you have reliability, in all sorts of downs and distances? But Jordan Mason would be my pick there.
Back to the roster projections at theathletic.com with defensive tackle. Like, why did you have Elijah Williams out?
It's just, that position is really hard for me right now, the defensive tackle spot. Because you've got Jalen Redmond, obviously, Levi Drake Rodriguez, obviously, Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, obviously, Caleb Banks, Dominique Orange. So that's 5 guys. Okay. And then they have a couple veterans who they brought in with experience. Isaiah Loudermilk, who I believe Flores called Milk. And then Eric Johnson II. So you've got those 2 veterans. Then you've got Elijah Williams, the Morgan State undrafted player from last year. You've got Taki Taimani, who's been around, undrafted player from Oregon. I don't know if I'm forgetting anybody else, but there's just a lot of players in that room. So it was hard for me, while I'm also thinking about numbers elsewhere, to go more than 6. And I chose the veteran over Elijah Williams, which could look dumb in a couple of weeks, probably.
No, well, I mean, Loudermilk's played 60 games, started 7 for the Steelers, 2 last year. So you have game equity there. Eric Johnson II played with Indianapolis, I believe, most of his career. So he's played 51 games, but not a lot of starts, if any. So, I mean, is it going to come down to something they unearthed from Morgan State last year that they like, or they wouldn't have kept him, versus Loudermilk because Eric Johnson II, I mean, you watch more practice than me. Almost every time I watch, I mean, he's very strong. He's looked pretty good, and he has those 51 games. So, what do you think they'll go with the veterans more so than what they saw last year in '99?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the other facet to this is they have a new defensive line coach in Ryan Nielsen, so he brings a fresh set of eyes just on the position group as a whole. And I will just say, because I've stood out there under the sun every day, like the way he works those guys and the amount of teaching going on has been highly impressive to me with what he's done. And I haven't really even talked with Ryan Nielsen personally, but that's been pretty impressive. And then, yeah, I mean, Eric Johnson, there was a one-on-one drill Sunday night, PA, when we're standing next to each other on the sideline where he cooked one of the starting interior offensive linemen. I can't even remember who it was, in that one-on-one drill. But this is where the preseason, I think, for as much as, offenses and defenses don't show a lot in these games. It's just not that complex schematically. The trenches you can't really fake. I mean, that is like, one-on-one pass rush opportunities. And so that's where there's going to be an opportunity for the Eric Johnsons, the Isaiah Loudermilks, the Elijah Williams to prove kind of their worth in some of these games.
How difficult has it been figuring out, okay, so we're looking at the interior D-line. How about these edge rushers, whether it's the Baddies and the Richters? It's almost been conventionally wise to state, well, there's probably a free agent addition around the corner at some point. When that corner takes place, we don't know. But how have you kind of analyzed that group behind AVG and Dallas Turner?
Yeah, I mean, this is another one where I would say because of the focus and attention on the quarterbacks, I don't feel like I've seen enough reps to...
we're back now, so...
we're back. I don't feel like I've seen enough to accurately and contextually give you opinions on, has Tyler Batty taken a leap? Has Bo Richter taken another leap as a pass rusher? I will say it's interesting that Jake Golday already has shown flexibility to play on the edge. Same with Eric Wilson. That was one of the strengths of his last year, that he can drop down there. And then, I do think one of the guys who hasn't got enough discussion in terms of perhaps the importance that they're going to play this year is Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins. Depending on how much of a runway Caleb Banks needs to play snap in and snap out, you're going to need someone to kind of play that 5 technique edge type role, and that could be Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins. So all of these guys, that entire defensive line from the interior to the edge, the preseason and joint practice is going to be very fun for me, and I believe just internally the team to evaluate.
How is the hosting of Vikings Collective going?
It's been good. I don't have much experience hosting. The only opportunities I've had with that are on your show here on 9 to Noon. So I thought, why not see if I can pass the ball a little bit instead of being the one who is playing shooting guard? Can I be the LaMelo Ball as opposed to the Anthony Edwards? That's just the most humility comment I've ever made in my whole life.
You do fancy yourself.
I really wish. Can we scrap that actually from the radio history?
So good.
That was atrocious, and
but wait
now
a second,
I'll reflect on that as well.
You host the Alec Lewis show.
That's a good point. But I'm not I'll have a guest here and there, but sometimes I'm just talking into the microphone.
Kind of a download of
your
mind.
Yeah. It's not so much PA, you've been a point guard for a long time on this radio show, so you know how that goes.
Alec Lewis at Alec_Lewis via X, The Athletic, theathletic.com. Outside of the Covenant for a second, can the Washington Commanders win the NFC East? Jaden Daniels, though.
I don't know. I don't know defensively with their personnel. I'd have to look at the depth chart probably to feel more comfortable. But I look, Durante Jones, who became their DC, I really thought was sharp, and I really think he'll bring some fun stuff for their defense. But personnel-wise, I'm not sure. And then offensively, they lost Laramie Tunsil to a very serious, at left tackle, to a very serious, I believe, tricep injury. And so,
might be torn,
and I would also say David Blau, their offensive coordinator, I think is also very sharp. He was a former quarterback here with Kevin O'Connell in 2022. But, so much of it's going to come down to health, Jaden Daniels' health, and his play style sometimes lends itself to, putting yourself in harm's way. So that's an interesting team. I'll be curious with the Eagles in that division. Like, what does Sean Mannion being the OC there mean for that offense?
Yeah.
Obviously there's a bunch of hype around the Giants. I'll believe that when I see it. And then the Cowboys, I think their defensive coordinator they hired, Christian Parker, I believe is his name, is really sharp, really respected in the league, but their personnel defensively still leaves some to be desired. So very interesting division.
If we are jumping outside, speaking of divisions, if we're jumping outside of Egan in particular, what hits you when you're looking at whether it's, trying to figure out how the Packers look this year, the injury woes? I mean, PA and I have been doing kind of two-a-days, we call it, for teams that we cover. We have some cool guests on, and it's fun conversation in terms of breaking down the schedule. But you start looking at, wow, Kobe Bryant, welcome to the mix here. Mm-hmm. You're going to bolster this defense. Think about what they've put into this in this offseason. He's gone maybe for the season, right? And then you think about Cade Mays. That was a name that
crazy.
Back in March, you and I, if we're talking about, hey, potential free agent targets for the Vikings, Alec, what do you think about the soon-to-be former Panthers center Cade Mays? He's out a couple months. Like, what's been hitting you about how this thing stacks up in what I think is the most competitive division in the NFL, the NFC North?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to peg because, like Detroit, you talked about the Cade Mays loss. I mean, their offensive line was one of the detractors of what that team was last year, especially in the run game. I also have questions about Detroit's secondary. I don't know, where does Brian Branch stand? Where does Kirby Joseph stand? Yeah. I do think their front seven is pretty solid. But coverage-wise, they've always had, not always, but in recent years, they've had trouble staying healthy and limiting explosives. The Bears defensively thrived off turnovers last year. Sometimes that can regress, but I would also say I have so much conviction in Ben Johnson and what he's capable of that it's hard to deny the potential. And then Green Bay, what does their offensive line look like? What is defensively with Jonathan Gannon? Like, that's a question mark for me. So, I mean, it is up in the air. Someone asked me the other day to rank the 4 quarterbacks in the NFC North. And it's so hard. Like, it's so hard to do that and feel convicted in trying to do, and really trying to.
Well, again, and the quarterback conversation always kind of creeps its way in, but how do you truly evaluate, if you were going to do that, how do you evaluate what Kyler's going to look like this season? I mean, there's a lot of projection, but you can pull probably maybe 60, even 70+% from his time in Arizona. But can you, given how different this thing's going to look, the people he's working with, maybe from a talent perspective, vastly different than a majority of his time there? Like, just projecting, that was a word even the coach used, yeah. Right? Like, what can be with Kyler is kind of a fun part of it too.
PA, how would you rank the 4 quarterbacks in the NFC North? Ooh. It's such a hard question. When this was posed to me the other day, I was like, well, I mean, it felt like asking me to do physics.
If each quarterback has the exact same team into the biggest game of the year, okay, I take Jared Goff. I take Goff first. I mean, cutting Williams and Love. I think I trust Caleb more than Jordan, but I think Jordan may be more talented than Caden.
Brett Blakemore just threw something in the room I'm looking at.
And Kyler's a wild card here. But if here's the deal. Stafford's not going to play. McVay's team with Nakua, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, it's fully up to speed. And who would McVay pick of those 4? Well, probably not Goff because he traded him, but you understand what I'm saying here. But I might be wrong here with Goff. I'm just, if it's a conference title game, they each get the same team. Well, then I'm probably going with Goff. What about you?
Well, I mean, so much of it, it's such a hard question because it is, to your point, PA, so personnel based. Like, if I have a really sharp offensive line, especially in the interior, I can protect from the running back perspective, I feel pretty good about Goff making decisions from the pocket. Yep. But if I don't have a lot of reliability in protection, I probably want Caleb's variance of what he can do. And then you guys know this. I've always thought Jordan Love has been pretty solid, but then I do think there's the variance of Kyler Murray can rise to a certain level. So, I think that's why this division, pegging it is so difficult from a durability perspective, from a coaching perspective, but maybe more than anything for me, just the different styles of quarterbacks and how they've all had their ups and downs and ceilings and floors at certain points.
Hey, Jackson Dart with the Giants, and I do believe he'll play this weekend. Second-year Ole Miss, 25th overall pick in 2025. Made 12 starts last year, 15 touchdowns, 5 picks, 9 rushing touchdowns. The game against the Vikings, Week 16, I mean, I remember it was an abomination for him a fair amount of the game.
Putting it kindly.
He finished 7 of 13 for 33 yards, 0 touchdowns and a pick. His yards per attempt was 2.5. What happened in that game?
I'm going to try to put this very nicely, okay? It looked like he could not see. It looked like he could not see what was happening.
Like he's wearing a blindfold?
Like it was... you took, you just covered your eyes. And that's what it was in terms of him trying to read out the Vikings defense. Like it just, I don't know how else to put it more plainly.
You said you were trying to be nice. I mean, that wasn't particularly nice at all.
I remember watching the film after that game and being like, I mean, it was just hitch, disaster. I mean, and I was sitting up in the Giants press box, and I mean, you when the defense ran out there to play against Jackson Dart, and again, I say this respectfully, like you just knew there was absolutely no chance. So, that's why there's a lot of optimism and hype around the Giants and Jackson Dart and that offense with Matt Nagy, now their offensive coordinator, I believe. And I just want to see it. Like, I just would like to see a progression from him, especially against defenses that are as deceptive as the Vikings.
Well, I mean, John Harbaugh, I think is going to get things squared away more so than Kafka on short time and Daboll. But some of the Ravens that he brought over there, the offensive lineman, the guard, the former Gopher, Daniel Faalele, they gave him a lot of money. Also, you have the punter, Jordan Stout, by the way, all-pro punter last year. Who knew? 24 inside the 20 with a 74 long. And Isaiah Likely, fifth-year Coastal Carolina, 15 touchdowns with Baltimore overall. So I mean, he brought in 3 pretty good players. Darnell Mooney with the Falcons, formerly of the Bears, unrestricted. I've always liked him.
I do too. I've always too.
Yeah, he came out of that Jefferson draft. One of the great wide receiver drafts in the history of the NFL. Justin goes, 22nd? Darnell went in the 5th round. So, I mean, I do think it's grandstandy to say Giants go from, they go from where they finished last year to winning the division. But, to say that they're going to win 8 games, maybe 9, I don't think it's that grandstandy.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to just watch. I think, I have questions about, their secondary as well. I believe they added Javon Holland before last year. But the cornerback spot would be one that I would wonder. And then, their offensive line has had ups and downs in recent years. And I know they had an offensive line coach that some people thought would stay with John Harbaugh, ended up not, and I believe they shifted there. So yeah, it's an interesting team to me. I think and again, like we said, that division for me is just kind of somewhat of a crapshoot. So yeah, I hope Jackson Dart plays this weekend, and I imagine if he plays, the Vikings aren't going to show much all up, drop to Tampa 2 type coverage. So it could look pretty good for Jackson Dart this weekend. And I'm probably not going to ride home about that.
PA kind of keyed in on it yesterday when the coach was talking, kind of, who's going to play on our side, and we kind of heard they're all going to play. Well, Is that really all of them? Is it really the Darisaws of the world? You know what I mean? Like, if you put any mental thought into that.
Yeah, I mean, he did say they're all going to play, but I don't know. Christian Darrisaw and Justin Jefferson are two guys who I don't think would need to play, but I also am kind of glad that they're going to give hopefully some of the first team some run. Like, I do think, though it is very, you're really simulating what a real game is like in some ways. Like, I do think just reps with the operation is important. I thought last year that was an area where it was a little bit of a miscalculation, the opportunity for them to have J.J. McCarthy in the offense just gel more with the operation in real game. So, I think hopefully it'll be interesting to see how much the first team plays. And then I'm looking forward to watching J.J. McCarthy in that environment and just what it looks like. Can he build some momentum in real games? Like, I think it's going to be interesting.
Do you think that's something maybe that KO takes away from previous camps? Because we always hit, and it's most likely true, that the joints are going to be the most meaningful reps that a lot of these players have. But combined with the focus of getting the offense moving more quickly, getting the plays in, getting to the line. There's some functional, PAs use the term remedial before, rudimentary related items that you do need that exhibition environment. Those processes, those reps actually matter too, even if the drilling down and maybe the more unique elements of things are hammered out during joints.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably an area that Kevin O'Connell has reflected on in recent years, but it's a delicate balance, because if you do play your starters and one of them does suffer an injury, if you're Kevin O'Connell, you're going to take arrows for the decision to play. So it really is kind of a delicate dance. And I mean, it's just going to be incumbent upon Kevin O'Connell and the staff to ensure that whatever route they take with it, is the most optimal. But they put in a lot of time and a lot of thought on how much to play these guys, where to maximize their reps.
Doesn't it feel like the week one is almost like a preseason game sometimes, though, in recent years, where things are rusty and not everything works, maybe more penalties, etc., because we're not seeing these reps in the preseason?
Yeah, that can be the case, but it's also like, even if the starters play on Saturday for a series or two, like, they're not going to run the full extent of what they want to run against the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah,
so
fair.
You're simulating some operation, but like, are you utilizing the amount of motions and the specified motions that you're going to use week one? No. So there's always, and that's because you want to guard against what opposing teams have to prepare for. And I can understand it, these coaches want to create any possible advantage. So I understand it.
All right, man. Safe travels. I'll see you out there, okay?
Looking forward to it. Thank you, guys. We're back.
Thanks, bud. Alec Lewis at Alec_Lewis via X. The Owl Roofing. Who? Owl Roofing postgame is next.
This is PA on.
Thanks to Owl Roofing, the wise new bird on the block, owlroofing.com. Roofing, siding, gutters. Don't have to worry about Billy, Johnny, Christy, Susie, Tamika, or Antoine running around the yard. And they're like nails left over from some substandard roofing company. They're very efficient with their cleanup. owlroofing.com provides the post game, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, indeed. I'm going to jump back. Part of our conversation today during 9 to noon that I enjoyed, it got my brain jogging a bit, was through Vikes Bites doing some McCarthy cuts and JJ addressing the media yesterday. And part of that kind of piqued your interest, PA, from the standpoint he was talking about, that it was a decision that was out of my control. And when Ben Lieber came in, you asked him a question about that. Really out of his control? Oh, hang on. Dramatic pause.
If this is a horse race or a boxing match, every one of those athletes have something in their control. When you include arbitration, subjectiveness, and other people's decisions, it is out of your control. I mean, he could have been he could have been 20 for 20 every practice and 3 touchdowns. He ultimately can't make the decision to start himself. So it comes down to a group of evaluators, and that includes coaches and front office people that look at the totality of all your stats, the way that you get in and out of the huddle, the way that you understand the defense and the offense, and the way that you process all the information and make those said decisions. So he's correct. I mean, I don't think that there's no shade being thrown by him at least according to me. It's like he understands that this is largely a decision that's out of his control. Yes, you have power to control your performance on each and every day and how you approach things. And it sounds like he did it in the right way, and it sounds like he's still going to handle himself in the right way. It's just ultimately the decision is out of his control.
So that was Ben Lieber earlier, and I don't think, PA, that it was necessarily illuminating in regard to just kind of the way we've seen this thing. And I don't even think he necessarily had a bad read on it per se, but just kind of thinking the way that Ben kind of articulated that there.
Yep.
The kind of narrowing or maybe even separating the decision.
Yeah, he boxed me up.
The decision not under his control, but certainly every step of the way on a daily basis on and off the field, that part certainly was within his grasp, and the head coach in the end decided to go with the new guy.
Yeah, he boxed me up. I love how eloquently and pragmatically Ben laid it out. In fact, so much so at the end of that clip, he had me 4 feet under the ground, but he had to have 6 feet under the ground. So he's saying even more, and I'm like, yep, got it. Hoping he would just stop there and we could move on to, Taki Taimani, your thoughts.
Yeah.
I understand what he said.
And then also we learned that this has happened about 30 times during camp.
You weren't thinking about whether it was fair during it, but I guess in the aftermath, how do you feel about that now?
Say that one more time.
You said you weren't thinking about whether or not it was a fair competition.
Spearfish just came down to get squared away for the unfinished family business.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing he said. He was listening on his drive in. He's like, well, that's phenomenal. I mean, that's the whispering bit and players having to say, can you say that again? So unofficially, I think it's 6 or 7 in the last 3 years. But 2 polarizing ones this training camp, Caleb Banks and J.J. McCarthy. Excuse me, can you say that again?
And it's all
Alec's the best, man.
He is the best, and I played that because I'm hoping he's in his car listening to it right now. But it's just, it is awesome when that happens during a presser. I love it. And, I love the way that we started the show today, PA, and maybe that's how we kind of bookend this thing on a Thursday, is the quarterback situation's been figured out. You guys are hopping on a jet plane tomorrow to go see the Giants at MetLife on Saturday for a nooner. Ron Johnson and I are doing Fan Line. But among all the things that we're now focused on, whether it is the defensive front, whether it is Brandel, maybe that's the next big talker, is how Brandel's handling the center duties. But the key for Kyler that you kind of set in motion to open the show today, from a footwork, speed of drop back, it all just, again, we need to see this happening live, but the idea of how KO gets behind Kyler, implements this offense through him, and the things that Kyler needs to do, as we ask the coach to adapt, the things Kyler needs to do to adapt to the coach in this offense.
And most importantly, moving up to the State Fair, then the 2026 regular season, by unfurling Kyler keys today, seems like we got an everyday series to come up with a segment for like a new Kyler key each day, because it's so new. You know what I mean?
I do, and it can be different. I mean, today it's the movement and the dropbacks, and we're trying to make him look like the next Drew Brees or peak Russell Wilson, etc. And tomorrow, maybe it is how he uses his legs in the run game and what those design runs looked like during his time in Arizona, and how that might look in Minnesota, whether it's at midfield or it's in the high red, every single day until border battle number 130 or whatever it is. We will have a key to Kyler's success in this offense. The segments will absolutely write themselves.
I have Messrs. Bob Hagan and Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum in the studio right now. They're giving me the stretch sign.
Oh, wow.
Which means they need me to leave and you to take part in the 10 of Fits up until 1 o'clock. At least that's the note that I'm seeing right now, so you might want to text somebody, okay? I'm just kidding. You're like Ava, Stella.
Hang on a second.
Smiling, crying, baby. What am I going to do?
Well, how about that? We stretched that post game right up to the buzzer, my friend.
Courtesy of Owl Roofing and owlroofing.com. Who? Owlroofing.com. Thank you very much. On behalf of Eric Nordquist, I'm Paul Allen. May God bless you and your families. Make sure you listen to the Friday Football Feast tomorrow when we rise and shine at 9. Have a great day. Bye.
Good times. Scratching and surviving. Good times.
Yeah, but
hanging in a jar. Good times.
We weren't thinking about whether it was fair during it, but I guess in the aftermath, how do you feel about that now?
Say that one more time.
You said you weren't thinking about whether or not.
If it's good news or money, leave a message.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.
from the 1-800-ASK-GARY Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored